Alright, part 3, air brake work. The automatic air brake system, when the near locomotive detention of the air passes by, sometimes attracted with a thumping hollow sound repeated with a regular cadence. Looking up at the side of the boiler, he noticed that it caused with the working of the pump composed of the two cylinder between the piston rod can see the slide back and forth. Steam pressure admitted with the one cylinder forced down the piston. As the piston rod is connected into the piston lower cylinder, the piston is forced down, and then air under the force in the main locomotive reserve where on the freight equipment is made and may attain 60 to 90 pounds of pressure. When the air brake is operated with the locomotive, the engineer has kept the normal running position. The air pressure from the main reservoir is allowed to feed valve with the brake pipe extending with the full length of the train. Between the car, the brake pipe is formed of flexible hose. The feed valve is adjusted with 70 pounds of air pressure to maintain the continuous feed through the entire length of the brake pipe. Under each of the brake pipe, the brake branch attached to what is known as the triple valve. The triple valve is when normal position allows the air of the brake pipe to pass through it into the auxiliary reserve, where it's maintained at the same pressure of 70 pounds. The triple valve is also connected what is known as the brake cylinder. Triple valve is connection between the brake pipe with the auxiliary reserve and between the auxiliary reserve and the brake cylinder. Brake application to apply with the car brakes. The equilibrium between the brake pipe and the auxiliary reserve brake pressure is distributed with allowance for the air to escape from the brake pipe. As soon as theirs is done, excessive air pressure auxiliary reserve throws it into the triple valve, so that immediately the auxiliary reserve pressure into the brake cylinder. The brake cylinder piston moves out under the pressure, and the movement transmitted through the levers rod connections to the brake shoes, which are forced against the wheels, retarding the rotation. Brake release. To release the brakes, the air pressure of the brake pipe is raised to admitting the air from the locomotive reserve, giving the excess pressure for the brake pipe above the pressure, and the equalizer reserve, which throws the triple valve so the closed inlet with the brake cylinder open the inlet auxiliary reserve of the brake pipe, thus allowing the two maintain equal pressure. Again, the same last movement allows the air brake cylinder to flow through an exhaust triple valve to the atmosphere. The spring on the piston on the brake cylinder piston rod forces the piston back into position with movements allow the brake shoe to drop away from the wheels, rod levers, and connections, resuming the normal position. It will be seen that the triple valve automatically charged with the auxiliary reserve applies and releases the brakes. It does these things with absolute certainty, as long as the kept in good order. The duties of the air brakemen are keep the brake pipe and the triple valve and the brake cylinder and other air brake parts in good order, to make the repairs necessary to restore them in good order when they become defective. Alright, this is your operating of the triple valve. The care of repairing the triple valve, most important part of the air brake work, and requires the utmost attention. Triple valve, normal release charging position, A, auxiliary reserve, brake cylinder C, and brake pipe BP. Mechanical knowledge and skills to enable the reader to understand the operation more fully, appreciate the complexity of the mechanism, reducing the three diagrammatic views for the type K triple K valve with the explanation of the working in each position. The type of the valve is generally used with the freight equipment. The normal release and charging position. When the triple valve is in this position, air from the brake pipe flows through the passages E, F, and G with the chamber of the H, forcing the main piston forward, uncovering the feed groove of the I, allowing the air piston past the auxiliary reserve. The feed groove then is a portion to prevent the air from feeding back with the reserve. When the brake pipe reduction is made, the recharging will continue. The auxiliary reserve pressure equalizes the brake pipe. Quick service position. In making the brake pipe reduction, the pressure is the chamber H must be slightly reduced for the auxiliary reserve pressure. Alright, here you see the auxiliary reserve, and it's marked as I, the brake cylinder P as C, and also your quick service position, the brake pipe BP. It has these X's and Y's noted in it, HI, and little numbered dashes. It's kind of hard to see. We'll move the main piston forward, carrying out with the slide of the valve, the graduating valve striking the graduating stem. 21, which held the plate for the graduating spring, with the parts will assume the position of figure 29 to 35. The feed groove is now closed for the cutting of the communication between the brake pipe and the auxiliary reserve. At the same time, graduating 7 under the undercover port C, partial register within the portion R with the slide V cell allows the auxiliary reserve to flow with the brake cylinder port O and P. O and Q through the side valve. They're also connected with the cavity V and the gravitating valve, so that the air valve chamber Y will pass through the passage of Y and O and the cavity V with the passage of Q and T, then around the loosing fitting the emergency piston A through the chamber X to the brake cylinder. When the pressure in chamber Y has been reduced below the chamber A, check valve 15, which raises the allowing the brake pipe air to the chamber A to flow through the air passage yet just mentioned. Air auxiliary reserve brake cylinder, brake pipe pressure 15, 12, 10, Y, X, X, E, X, O, O, 22, The brake cylinder side of the ports are such that the amount that delivered to the top of the emergency piston 8 will not sufficiently force it down and cause an emergency application. At the same time, it's large enough to cause the positive brake reduction of the triple valve, which will cause the next valve to produce a regular and serial action throughout the entire train. Emergency action produce and rapid reduction of the brake pipe pressure so far that the far below the auxiliary reserve of the main position forward the carried force of the lever of the right, compressing the graduating cylinder spring 22. Seating on the leather cylinder cap gasket in the position of the slide valve with the 3 uncovered the port with the T and the seat with auxiliary reserve air and flow through the chamber above the emergency piston and the 8 with the forcing it down through the unseat emergency seat channel with the brake pipe. The air will now flow through the chamber A with the raising check valve with the 15 passing the chamber to the X and Y and X of the brake cylinder under the pressure is nearly equalized, which check valve with the 15 will return to its seat by spring 12, preventing any of the backflow with the brake pipe. With the emergency valve with the 10 will be held with the emergency piston 8 until the reserve of the brake pipe pressure nearly equalized when both the valve and piston will raise with the original position of the spring 12. And the position of slide valve of the port S connects with the port R with the seat with the emitting of the auxiliary reserve to the brake cylinder. The ports are, however, so small that they do not interfere with the venting of the brake pipe air per cylinder. The effects are suddenly local reduction of the brake pipe reduction through the next triple valve of the train emergency position so that the entire length to take place so rapidly that it requires less than 3 seconds to apply all the brakes of a 50-car train. At the same time, the cylinder pressure is about 20% greater. The brakes are released, and raising the brake pipe pressure release takes more than time after service application on account of the lower brake pipe pressure that had higher equalized pressure as auxiliary reserve of the brake pipe cylinders. Besides the piston herein for giving the triple valve at the 3 other intermediate position called full service lap and the retarded release position. Full service position and quick service position augmented with allowing the air pressure for the brake cylinder more rapidly. The lap position also supports the triple valve are closed or lapped. No movement of the air where the valve is positioned and status quo. Quick and full service application is maintained. The retarded release is a position whereby the release of the brakes caused by the increase of the brake pipe pressure for the locomotive proceeds at the same speed on the last of the first car of the train. Relation of the air brakes on parts on the other will be more clearly understood with examining the valve of the entire of the type K with the freight equipment figure number 37 on page 121. It will be understood that the diagram of the piping details have considerably simplified with the illustrative purposes. Tooling machinery. In the maintenance and repair of the automatic air brake system, the mechanics use the following tools: 1 large hammer, 1 small hammer, the Stilson wrench, 4 sizes of files, S wrenches, socket wrenches, hacksaws, 2 screwdrivers, 1 cold chisel, 1 air brake test rack. Part of the shop equipment in operation will be explained later. 1 portable forge for heating pipe for bending. 2 devices holding an air brake parts and pipes when bending and cutting the thread. Mechanical and air brake parts. Many different sizes of rubber leather gaskets, for instance, kerosene waste and cheesecloth for cleaning air brake parts, graphite and machine oil for lubricating triple valve and other valves, brake cylinder compound of grease for the cylinder lubrication, powdered pumice for grinding the valve parts, and white lead for the pipe joints. Beside all the mounts for the hinge and joint with the handle and repair, renewing all the parts of the air brake system, including air hoses, coupling, angle cock, 1 inch to 1 1/4 inch pipe, 1 3/8 of an inch pipe, cutout cock pressure retaining valve with the central dirt collector, drain cup used on some of the cars, and triple valve. Your auxiliary reserve release valve of the brake cylinder in different sizes. The brake cylinder parts are body, piston rod, backing, leather, packing, expander, non-pressure head, cross head, gasket, fowler, stud nut, and releasing spring. On the combined air brake equipment as shown in Figure 37, the auxiliary wall forms the pressure head and the freight of the air brake system. Brake cylinder piston rod is hollow sleeves in which the long of the loose of the push rod attached with the lever's rod for the foundation of the brake gear that permits the brakes to be set in the hand without compressing the release spring. Referring again to the Figure 37, will be seen that there is a small groove called the leak groove at the wall of the brake with the cylinder running over the road. It must be occasionally happen to the brake pipe leak as the other condition caused the triple valve piston, allowing the side of the flow air into the brake cylinder would gradually cause the brakes to creep in and drag where and not leak as the groove which permits the air, such for the cause of the fast flows the pass piston into the atmosphere. Following a list of parts of the typical K-type of the triple valve are which from the air brake mechanic must repair or order when they are required renewal. Your body slide valve, the main piston ring, slide valve spring, the graduating valve, the emergency position, emergency valve seat, emergency valve, the rubber seat, check valve spring, check valve case complete, check valve case gasket, check valve strainer, 1-inch union nut, 1-inch union swivel cylinder gap, graduating stem, stem nut, graduating spring, cylinder cap screw, bolt and nut under the cylinder cap, cap screws, 1-inch union gasket, emergency valve nut, retarding device named marked K1, retarding stem, retarding spring, graduating valve spring, 3/8 of an inch plug, exhaust outlet not shown, 1.5-inch pipe plug. There are many types of triple valve, both equipment and passengers, all which have been tested and repaired on brakeman cars. These types include the planned BCDE type, the triple valve, the freight F1, GN1, K1, K5, H1, GN2, K2, K6, passenger P1, J4, L1B, S1, J5, L2A, and J6 and L3. The different type of the triple valves, which are also constructed with the same, of the principle differ from one from the other. Number the size of the part of the passenger car, but the triple valve has a prominent add feature with the call with the safety valve attached directly to it. The valve prevents excess brake cylinder pressure for the surface. The application, the emergency application, is cut entirely so that it's cut off from the use. The repair and maintenance for the air brake system. When the car enters the shop of the general repairs, all but the greater of the part for the air brake system and remove the removal necessary because the entire brake may be badly rusted. Angle of the cocks and air hose. The defective of these parts must be removed in order to make other repairs to the car. But the triple valve is also removed for testing and cleaning and repairing. The brake cylinder can be cleaned in oil of the car, but methods for the use are the same whether it may be moved or not. It requires 2 of the discount brake cylinder and to replace it. The mechanic must first move the cylinder head, but it's done with the taking off the bolts of the disengaging it by tapping the hammer of the mechanic causing the drop of the box before letting it into the ground. As the heavy would be likely to break in half, removing the head of the piston is pulled out from the cylinder. Old cylinder lubrication, moving the cylinder while the piston packing lead with all the metal materials wiped with a clean grove of kerosene. Kerosene must be well moved or it would cause the damage of the gasket and packing leather. Any rust removed with sandpaper. The piston ring, packing leather examined carefully as defective, replaced, and applying new packing leather. The flesh side is packed against the piston, and bolts are also to all sides of the flower and tightened uniformly with a thin coat of the cylinder lubricant and supplied with the cylinder wall to expand the ring groove of the piston. The inside of the packing leather of the piston is then put in place with the cylinder, and packing leather is forced into position with a dual putty knife. Other instruments care must be taken not to damage the crimp of the leather. The cylinders should be checked and should be cleaned every 6 months, and according with the MCB rules, if the cylinder is not cleaned within inside of the period of 12 months constitutes a car defect. The triple valve work. The triple valve is disconnected, brought to the shop, taken entirely apart with the cylinder cap. The first removed, taking off the bolts, then given a tap with the hammer. The gasket generally comes off with the cap, the main piston, slide valve, the graduating spring. Then all connected can be taken out together. Cleaning the check valve case, the removed with the same manner of the emergency position, emergency valve with the check valve, the emergency spring, the emergency valve with the check valve. The gaskets are removed one over the right of the top of the other. Then they can be picked out of the concession of the parts of the exemption of the gaskets or emergency valve seats, which is rubber and soaked with the kerosene about 10 minutes. They are wiped off with the kerosene blown off with the air, which dries them clean with the wipe off with the cheesecloth. Inside of the triple valve is cleaned with the same way. The care must be taken not to scratch any of the valve bushings that would cause leaks. After the bushing and the slide of the valve seat has been cleaned, the parts are lubricated with reassembled. Application of lubrication of the triple valve. No lubrication is put with the quick action parts of the piston valve ring should never be removed except for the renewal easy sprung out of the shape of the face of the graduating valve. Both upper and lower faces of the sliding valve, the bushing where the sliding valve spring bears, lubricated with the light coating of the dry graphite applied uniformly. The graphite used in fine and best grade applied within the stick of the having a piece of the fine cloth tied to glued around it in one end of it and covered the end of the stick with a dip into the graphite and rubbed it well into the brass parts. The slight tap with the stick causes it to loosen from the pores of the brass and leaving the light uniform coating desired. Or the piston lubricating, putting in 2 to 3 drops of oil and pushing in the bushing and sliding it back and forth, which works the oil around the ring. This should be no free of the oil left on the parts, nor should there be any allowed to get upon the gasket. The rubber seat of the valve, the slide valve, spring tension should be light. Alright, triple valve repair. The repairing of the triple valve consistently, largely grinding with the parts of the stop of the leakage grinding to fit with the insertion of the parts of the required renewal. If the check valve leak under the test, it must be grounded to close to the fit down to the coating with the bearing parts of the valve with which the oil is powered and promised. The valve is then placed into the valve case turned around with the grounding motion. In this way, both the valve and the bushing and the piston are into the ground together. Main piston required this renewal of the count of the leakage of the grounding with a small valve powered with the premise to make the fitting of the bushing. Also moved with the ground with the groove on the piston, which under the promised stone water until the work is easily grooved in the groove. The main piston usually arrives at the factory slightly oversized and almost must be grounded to the fit. The bushing. Some of the grounding is done to the valve. The emergency valve seat is also grounded. The valve is so tight for the fit with the valve case, and if the parts are not kept around, leakage will result. Anyone who has ever used a firearm work with any character will readily appreciate the skill required to fill and grind light brass parts and keeping them so perfectly around that they will not leak under high air pressure. Care of the safety valve, etc. When repairing passenger car triple valve, the mechanical must be test clean and repair the safety valve on the freight equipment. There is required with the test and air clean with the angle cocks, cut out cocks and central figure of dirt collected. The mechanic cleans and test and repair the different type of the pressure retaining valve with the pressure retaining valve for the purpose of maintaining the pressure of the brake cylinder, which recharges the air system with the train running with a high grade is set with the hand by the means of the hand lever but automatically measure the air pressure from the manufacturer. Different types of these meet different road conditions. The test rack. After being assembled, the triple valve is placed in the test rack and tested. The test rack is completed. The system of the valves engaged with the purpose of determining whether or not the triple valve, cutout angle cocks, or air hose are properly conditioned for the service. The proper and type of the test racks are shown attached to the sketching test, and all the type of the test valves under every edition they will meet their services. For the Ford triple valve standing face plates were required at each of the test racks to permit the testing of all types of the triple valve tip valves. Not only does the test rack measure the performance of the type of the valve under all the service conditions, but it tests every part of the leakage, measure the amount of the leakage, if any, through some of the parts of the operation. Test rack differs in testing different type of the valves, which requires additional knowledge of the part of the operator, and it is not attempted in the end to fully describe the operation of the test rack, making the various types of different types of triple valves. Sketch 38 shows the sketch of an improved triple valve test rack. Plan and front elevation. Triple valve charging test. The triple valve are attachment for the test rack. First step for the so efficient the charging of the auxiliary reserve. The brake air pipe pressure is maintained at 80 pounds of the valve must be charged with the reserve of the 70-pound pressure of the specified number. The second of the time required with the charging is equal auxiliary reserve varies from the different type of the triple valve. For example, the L3 type of the passenger car type of the car valve should be charged with the reserve of the 9 to 11 seconds. Of the GN1 type triple valve used for the freight equipment should be charged with the reserve from 100 to 120 seconds. Test rack the operator knows the charging time required for each of the triple valve without reference to the written table. Leakage test. The second test is generally a leakage check exhaust port with the triple valve at the emergency portion of the check valve at the cylinder gasket are also tested with the leakage soap suds applied with the vent aids in detecting and locating leakage. Other tests exhaust with the triple valve. The release position leakage directly through the triple valve casting of the gasket. The graduating valve is tested. The leak of the amount of which must be not exceed 5 pounds within 20 seconds, as indicated with the brake cylinder gauge. The test made with the service sensitivity, quick service of packaging, ring gauge, leakage ring test, release testing for the excessive friction between the parts and the service port capacity testing for triple valve with having the feature of the retarded release test. The mechanic must know thoroughly with the function of the lever about 16 valve, the cutout of the test rack of the valve. They're operated differently each for the position of each valve is functioning, making the difference of the test. The valve corresponding with the locomotive engineer, usually 8 different positions. The mechanic not only operates the test rack, but must test every week of the leakage. This also keep the repair and must order with apply with the new parts may need from time to time, taking it all in. Mechanical knowledge experience required to operate and take care of the test rack is equal to the knowledge of the triple valve. Mechanical must have to test and repair them. Alright, piping the car. Besides the repair of the different air brake pipes, the air brake mechanic must apply to the entire air system of the car. Figure 39 shows the piping details general location of the air brake main cuts, thread bends, and they apply for all the piping into the car. That requires not only the piping fitting skills, but also a great deal of experience for the car worker to measure the car properly in order to give every piece of the pipe kitting in the proper length. The diagram does not illustrate the difficulties meet in the mechanic and fitting of the pipe that may differ in the type of the bottom of construction beside the cross tie of the members of the truss, the rods of the body bolsters, braking connection. The pipe fitters must be taken into consideration. Hopper bottoms, jump doors on the cars so equipped the high-sided steel gondola cars with the brake cylinder reserve. The triple valves are on the end shelf, the M1 end of the car that requires that the connection between the mechanism and the brake pipe be fitted down through the underframe over the draft ring rigging in such a location the draft gear is shock of the failure will not damage the pipe. Other pipe work. The application of air brake systems allow the different working equipment presents many difficult pipe fighting problems. Some varieties of the work are listed below. Figure 40 shows the K&G automatic air dumping car. Snowplow bale spreaders having side wings operated with the air cylinder. Many types of dump cars have the dump cars operated with the air cylinders, and sometimes the entire floor of the car can be raised and tilted and discharge of load of either side of the yard hoist. Other than air power apparatus, many descriptions are maintained with the repaired in the air brake car man. Your responsibility. The air brake mechanic received the various little supervision. Great number of the cars he is likely to work upon. The sum of the days makes it physically impossible for the foreman to inspect all of the work. The foreman assigns that his certain work to do and must go with a certain go these cars with the foreman. He keeps the record of the work done on each of the cars, the condition of the cylinders and the triple valve, and the date they were last stenciled and cleaned and repaired. On some of the roads, the air brake man is examined occasionally on his knowledge of the air brake principles and repairs. The working condition. All of the air brake work on the cars is done with upon under the prevailing weather condition. The air brake must be piped. Cars in winter when the ground is underneath the car is wet and sloppy. Particularly all of the air work on the car is underneath. Therefore, it must be kneeling and sitting down positions regardless of the ground condition. The working is especially hazardous in yard and shop where there is much movement of cars. Facts are peculiar to air brakes. When the consideration automatic nature of the air brake mechanism, the fact of the limited movement of the triple valve position is the 1 5/8 of an inch that is short travel to most of the positively stop at the different positions. We begin to realize the actual adjustment needed, but hence the skill, the delicacy of the manipulation required for the mechanic to properly repair the triple valve. The operation of the trains without accident delay impossible unless the air brake system is perfectly working condition. The brake efficiency hampered by the state and slightly defective with the air brake parts. Unless any other cars with the air brake system will not successfully function with the slight defects exist. In this case, with the good brakes, no brakes, because of the defects arise in service, the car must be cut out when the only experienced air brakes can be possibly located. Defects, correct them. Operation of the car with faulty brakes causes repeated delays and possible accidents. Part 4. Working locomotives other than equipment and working on the wrecking crew.